Hello, YouTube strength fans. Welcome back to the vlog. As you know, if you saw last week's vlog, which I posted about a week late, but I recorded it on time. But if you saw the last one, you'll know that I'm not actually 2 weeks out anymore. It's still 2 weeks to the real thing, but I did at the very last minute. It wasn't like a secret I was keeping. It wasn't some elaborate plan that I was hiding from everybody. The plot twist that was my last minute entry and last minute decision to enter the local bodybuilding show in San Jose last weekend was purely a spur of the moment thing. I was going to be there anyway. We were already peaking me, like doing a practice peak to kind of get a feel for, the way my body depletes, the way my body replenishes, how to restore glycogen without spilling over. It's bodybuilding is such a precision thing, and every body is so different that no matter how long my coach has been doing this for, if he doesn't have any data on me specifically, he's not going to be able to hit it just right. So we were planning to practice peak me last week regardless. And I was going to go to this bodybuilding show to support one of my friends. So it just made sense. If I'm peaked and I'm there, why not step on stage? So that started off as kind of a half joke with one of my training partners, former roommate. And I mentioned it to my coach, and he was luckily on board with it pretty easily. I didn't have to twist his arm or anything. So yeah, I have officially competed in a bodybuilding show. Got one under the belt. I'm a real life bodybuilder now. It's official. Because a lot of times, you'll see people in the gym, they're doing heavy squat, heavy bench, heavy deadlift, and they'll call themselves a power lifter, or they do a lot of hypertrophy training, they call themselves a bodybuilder. But in the communities of competitors, the strongman athletes that compete, the power lifters that compete, the bodybuilders that compete, it's kind of unanimous for the most part that until you have done an actual, legitimate competition, you can't claim that you're that thing. So I've mostly avoided, not completely, but mostly avoided calling myself a bodybuilder for the past 14 months as I've been getting ready for these shows. But now I've done one. I did come in last place. I came in third out of 3. But I've completed a bodybuilding show. Looked pretty good, despite the placing. And so yeah, I'm the real thing now. But yeah, so I'm going to do a recap. My coach has me hydrate aggressively, normally in this prep. So I was carrying a lot more water weight. So even though I intended to just do a small water cut, and by doing a small water cut, what I mean is I was only using the easy water cut interventions, the easy protocols. So I did a 2-day water load. In a 48-hour period, I think I drank 7 gallons of water, which to people that don't do this sort of thing, I guess might sound like a lot, but for what I've done in the past, that's pretty standard, not super difficult. Then I did about 20 hours with no water. We didn't cut food at all, which in strongman I usually do a 24-hour food and water fast. So we stayed on the normal meal plan all the way through. We reduced carbs a little bit, but not in any significant way, and food was mostly retained. The day of check-ins, Friday, I didn't eat until after check-ins were done, but then I ate all my normal food. And plus some carbs, because once you check in, once you weigh in, now you're starting to get the glycogen back. Or not just back, because it's not like strongman where you lose all the glycogen that week. I was in a depleted state for several weeks leading up to it. So once you weigh in, he had me eating Pop-Tarts, which was fucking luxurious. A lot of rice, some honey, very measured, specific amounts of like salt and water. It was like 8 ounces of water and 1 teaspoon, 1 teaspoon or quarter tablespoon or some kind of specific measurement. I don't remember what it is anymore, of salt. But everything is like timed, everything is measured, everything's very, very precise. And my coach is constantly looking, I was sending him pictures and stuff, when we weren't in the same location. I would set up the tripod and take physique pictures and send them to him, so he could see throughout the day, okay, your last, you had 200 grams of rice, you had the quarter tablespoon of salt, you had 8 ounces of water, you had 1 package of Pop-Tarts. Let's, it's been an hour. Let's see what your physique is, how it responded to that. And what you're looking for is water distribution. You want the water to go into the muscles. When you say glycogen, that's what we're talking about, is it's basically water in the muscles. You don't want the water in between the skin, the subcutaneous layer, because water in the glycogen, or water in the muscle, makes the muscle look bigger. Water under the skin is what covers the muscle definition. It makes you look softer. It makes the muscles harder to see. So you want to maximize the size of the muscles, but minimize the water in the subcutaneous layer. That's why this process is so precise, because it's a very thin line. It's a very delicate balance. You're walking that razor's edge to get the best of both, to get water into the muscles without what's called spilling over into the subcutaneous layer. And each of those components, the salt, the carbs, and the water, all play a part in that. And so as I'm eating the food that he's telling me to, and the amounts that he's telling me to at the time that he's telling me to, and then sending him the physique updates, he's able to see, okay, how did the muscle size change? How did the glycogen refill? And what is the definition looking like? What are the separation, the striations between the muscles? What are those looking like? So it was a very involved process, a very focused process. And that brings me to the thing I've been talking to everybody about since the show has concluded, is I did the Hero Division, which is military veterans and first responders. I did Classic Physique Open, and I did Open Bodybuilding Heavyweight. Those are the 3 classes I competed in. So I went up on stage 3 times, or did the full stage portion 3 different times. So that's it was like a 45-second portion where you just hit mandatory poses. It's not the routine, it's not the art portion. It's showing the mandatories with just you and showing your best poses in your own cadence. It gives you control over how you're setting them up, because when you're doing the comparisons, it can be really quick. They can have you hold it for a long time. You have no control over the way you're doing it. So they give you an opportunity to show your physique the way that you want to, highlight your strengths, and maybe avoid your weaknesses in a way that's very controlled for you. Then they bring you out for the comparisons. That's where you're in a lineup with other guys, and they give you, it's like a Simon Says thing, where they say face front, and you go in the front relaxed, and they say quarter turn to the right, and you turn to your right, and they just call out different poses, and you do whatever they say. And that's where they're looking at you versus the other people and kind of starting to establish your scoring. Then you do your individual posing routine, where that's the art form. That's where it's set to a song that you chose, and it's a posing routine you chose. There's no set poses you have to do. It doesn't affect your scoring at all officially. It's just an expression. It's the art form of bodybuilding. Not that the rest of it's not artful, as far as making your body into a certain form and being able to contort yourself and show your physique. There is definitely art and expression in the mandatories and stuff, but there's a lot more. It's a lot more technical and rigid. This allows you to express yourself however the hell you want to, and it doesn't affect anything. So you're not having to worry about what the judges think or worry about what other people did. It's just you showing off what your body in the way that you want to. So those are the 3 components. And so I did all 3 of those components for 2 of the divisions. I did 2 of the components without the posing routine for the 3rd one, because when the open bodybuilding and classic physique, they're pretty different, but I was in the Hero Division for classic physique, so it's just classic physique twice. I don't need to do that portion of it for every single time. Really, I only had to do it once, but I wanted to do it twice. It's more practice before Reno, and it's just practice. It's just muscle memory and learning how to do it, building experience. So I figured twice was the right amount to do it. All that to say, I was only up on stage physically exerting myself for maybe 7 minutes total the whole day, which, coming from a background of strongman, powerlifting, and a lot of the people that I assume are watching my channel are people that I know through strongman and powerlifting, or are in that community, since that is mostly my background. When you look at being on stage posing for 7 minutes, even knowing that posing, even now, me being in this position, knowing that posing is actually really difficult and exhausting. But this is like, posing practice at the gym is like 30 minutes long, and this is 7 minutes. So comparative to powerlifting and strongman, the physical exertion of a bodybuilding show is almost nothing. So pretty easy, right? But no, actually it's one of the most exhausting things I've ever done. And what I've been telling people about is it's just because the week of the show, there is no off time. There is no downtime, no dead zone, anything. You are locked in, laser focused, and paying attention to and tracking so many different things between, again, the depletion, making sure that you're depleting at the right rate, that you're not flattening too much in certain areas, making sure that you're timing and hitting your cardio correctly, because there's certain limitations. You can do too much, you can do not enough. You're trying to balance your water, you're trying to not water cut too much, because with strongman you're trying to make weight and that's it. With bodybuilding, yes, there's a weight to make for classic physique, but you also need to dry yourself out a certain amount without flattening the muscles completely. You don't want to water cut too much. Then you get your base layer of tan, and now you're like a delicate, like nothing can touch you. You can't get you're like a gremlin or a Furby or whatever. They turn into the gremlin. You can't get any water on you. That's a thing, right? Water, you can't feed them after midnight, and I think you can't get them wet. It's been a long time. I don't fucking know. I'm from the 80s. But yeah, so there's so many things, and so every moment that you're awake, you are paying attention to, focused on, and just tracking a bunch of different stuff. And it's even harder because at this level of depletion, which is night and day different from what I've done for strongman. And anyone that's followed me for a while knows that I get really lean for strongman, but this is still like a whole different league. And the brain fog that comes with this level of starvation and depletion is fucking insane. So trying to keep track and focus on all these things while having brain fog and just being completely starving, incredibly thirsty, just miserable, moody, angry, it is exhausting. So it's not a physical exertion as much as it's a mental and physiological exertion. And so I got home from the show probably around 5 p.m. I was playing Xbox because my coach wanted me to kind of relax, to kind of like start to decompress and de-stress, but he also wanted me to start, I'm not done competing for the season. I still have the show in 2 weeks, and I have another show 2 weeks after that. So, we weren't done. Like, we had to get back on track, and there's a certain way to go from that. The day of the show, I ate so many carbs, so much rice, the whole thing of Pop-Tarts, or what was left of it, the honey, the salt, like everything. You're consuming all of this, and so now you can't just immediately rush back into the diet and go back into the deficit. We go back to it quickly, but it's controlled. You ease into it. There's like a kind of an off ramp to it. So he's like, hey, I need you to go home and relax specifically, and I want you to eat these meals or whatever, and let me know how you feel, let me know how digestion is, let me know how bloating is. Like, there's still, even after the show, a lot of things to keep track of, which I mostly did. And I got permission from them to move one of the meals up, because I'm like, dude, I'm falling asleep. I'm playing Xbox and I'm running around in this game world, and I'm falling asleep while playing it, and I wake up and I'm running into a wall, and I'm like, I'm gonna pass out. Like, I gotta get to bed. I was in bed at 6:30. I was in bed before 6:30, but it was around 6:30. I woke up at 10:30 the next morning. I did wake up a couple times, well, really like 4 or 5 times to pee during that time. But I wear the Oura ring to track my sleep metrics. And I was in bed for over 15 hours, and I was asleep for over 13 hours. And that includes all the little micro wakings. Like, I was barely awake that whole time. My total REM sleep was like 28% of my sleep cycle, which is insanely high. It was just, I was dead to the world. So yeah, that's kind of the recap as far as how it affected me. The show was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing it. The guys that I competed with were really cool. The couple guys I competed against, because it was a small show, were cool guys. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the process. I learned a lot about the sequence. I got a lot of experience and familiarity with it. Obviously, Reno, the Legion Sports Festival, is going to be a much bigger, much more competitive, much more chaotic show. So I'm not going to be going in expecting it to be the exact same, because I'd set myself up for failure. But I have the general idea of the flow and sequence of a bodybuilding show now. And not just like on paper, like reading how it goes. I now have that experience, which will make it easier and less stressful and less, worrisome when I'm in, the real one. I got some great feedback from 2 of the judges. One of the big ones, which again is really great to learn now and not be learning for the first time in a show that I'm targeting, is the spray tan. I got 2 coats of spray tan. I looked pretty dark after the second coat. 2 coats is the standard. You get the base layer, and then the next day you get the final layer. And I looked pretty dark, but I absorbed a lot of the tan throughout the day, and I was a lot lighter than everyone else I was on stage with. And both judges, it was one of the first things they each mentioned was that I was too light. So automatically, Reno, we're talking about doing 4 coats of tan total versus 2. So that was a big point of feedback. I also got the feedback that my waist is too thick. There's nothing to really be done about that. It's not that there's fat on my waist. It's that as a strongman, I have just built up a lot of side, obliques and side ab muscles, which classic physique for men it's all about the wide lats, the broad shoulders, the big legs. It's called the X-frame. So you want a narrow waist, but you want the lower body and the upper body to then taper out from that and be a lot wider and bigger. So the feedback was, obviously, since that's not going to change because the muscle's not going to go anywhere and there's not really any fat to lose there, the feedback was that I need to change my posing and create the illusion that my waist is smaller than it is. And I need to improve. The feedback I've been getting from some people is that my ab control is pretty good, but it's not perfect. So that can also, improving ab control can further make the waist seem smaller. So that was a lot of the feedback there. I got some feedback on some shoulder rotation and chest expansion aspects of posing that could be improved upon. So all this feedback on the posing, all the feedback on the tan, all of that we can apply immediately corrections for Reno. And so that means, even though it's only a couple weeks between the shows, which is not enough time to add any new muscle or any of that, it's enough time to lose a little bit more fat, but there's not going to be any meaningful changes to my physique in that time. But I can still bring a much better package to the stage in Reno, just implementing some of these changes, from the judges. And then obviously my coach was able to see me on stage and see, things that I didn't do as well as maybe he expected, or things I forgot, or whatever. He has now seen my stage performance, and he also has, corrections and things he wants to tweak to make things better. So it's only 2 weeks until Reno, but we got a lot of powerful changes to make that are going to make my performance there a lot better. And we're going to rinse and repeat that process in Reno and learn and experience and get feedback to then apply to the Sacramento show 2 weeks after that. And then once that's done, that's it. That's my first season completed. And then we'll go back to the drawing board and kind of see what's next. Obviously, I got to get back into CrossFit Pleasanton and start my strength training again. I got to rehabilitate my lower back / hip / psoas, whatever, this lower back issue I've been having for the last 14 months. I got to get back to strongman. But I think I'm going to continue with bodybuilding too. I've been saying that I'm not going to commit to anything or make any decisions before I have completed these shows, because you kind of got to look back in hindsight and see what you want to do going forward. So I'm still not committing to any specific plan, but I would be shocked if I don't continue doing bodybuilding. It's just The training is a lot of fun. I've learned a lot about myself. There's a lot of exciting tests of like discipline and willpower, and some improvements to be made there that I'm not going to admit out loud, you know, where mistakes were made. But I'm not perfect in prep. I do pretty well, but it could always be, there's always something to improve. And in these different challenges, these different things to work on, these different things that are new to me, it excites me to attack these things and improve on them. So, not committed to anything, but I would be absolutely shocked. I would bet money that I will continue with bodybuilding in some capacity. And it really just depends on how these shows go and what opportunities I have going forward, as well as, you know, how does my lower back rehab go, and what opportunities are still present in strongman, because the strongman competitive landscape has changed a bit since I've been gone. And I may find out that I'm not, you know, able to catch back up to those guys in the time that I spent away from strength. These are all unanswered questions that we have to figure out as we move into the next phase. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fantastic experience. I'm excited for Reno. I'm excited for Sacramento. I'm excited to eat some fucking food again. And yeah, so next week is the last week before the peak week. So I'm 2 weeks out tomorrow. So I have one more full week, and then the peak week with the depletion, the water cut, the drive up to Reno, and the refeed, the check-in, the performance, all that stuff. So yeah, if you want to see what happens next, if you want to see how this all goes, interested in what's going to happen after this, like, follow, subscribe. I guess follow and subscribe are the same thing. Follow is an Instagram thing. But like and subscribe and comment and share all the engagement stuff, because that really helps out. And yeah, we got some other videos coming up too. Like now that I'm getting lean enough to where it looks good on camera, we'll start getting some shots done and ready to edit for the what is a day in the life of a bodybuilder look like. What does a day in my life specifically look like? And so we're going to be taking some shots for that, and that should be out fairly soon, next few weeks probably. And then once the shows are over and things kind of loosen up a little bit, we'll get back into like the meal prep, maybe some more exciting protein ice creams, you know, a little bit more indulgent ingredients for that. You know, maybe using like milk instead of water, that sort of thing. I'll do maybe some eating challenges, although I'm not a big fan of those, but those seem to do well. And what was the other one? Meal prep, protein. Oh, we're gonna do a baked goods series where I try and recreate some of these baked goods that are coming across my Instagram feed now that I'm in a deep cut and the algorithm is trying to torture me. There's all these like incredible looking baked goods that are constantly on my feed, and I've been bookmarking them. And so I'm going to try and make them. I'm going to rate how hard they were to make as someone with no baking background or experience. I'll rate how difficult were they to make, how good do they taste, or at least how good do they taste when I have made them, and all that stuff. I'll rate the macros and like the calories. However, it's worth mentioning right now, putting this to bed, the goal is not to find healthy desserts. The goal is I'm not looking for like protein brownies or any of that bullshit. I hate that stuff. If I'm in a cut, yes, I'm looking for those things to make the cut more enjoyable, to make it easier. But when I'm in the off season, I can't stand people in my niche, in my space, that at all times are just pushing high protein this, low calorie that. If I'm in an off season, my cake better be full fat, full sugar, all that crap. So I'm still going to talk about the macros and calories, because that's still something to be mindful of, but I'm not searching for low calorie, low sugar, no, that's not what we're doing. And if I find some recipes like that just happen to be high protein and low sugar and stuff, and they taste good, that will be highlighted. But just being a strength and nutrition, coach, competitor, bodybuilder, all that stuff, it just seems like it would be weird to do a series like that and not evaluate those things. So that's what we got coming. That's it for now.